So if you want awesome beach living, but you want a nice neighborhood, you don't necessarily want, a condo along the ocean. You want a nice house. You want a detached house. You may even want a condo or townhouse, but you want it in a neighborhood. You want it to feel like you're in a community. Well, there aren't too many places in Virginia Beach or most beach areas that have that type of community feel. But there is one in Virginia Beach that I think is, for all you get, price considered, the best value anywhere near the beach in all of Virginia Beach. It is Shadowlawn. If you've heard of it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, let me tell you all about it. And also, if you have heard about it before, I'm going to talk about some details you may not have known before. So we'll talk about the neighborhood, we'll talk about the community, the price ranges, the types of houses in here, how you can get access to the beach, how easy it is, and other general things that are worth mentioning about Shadowlawn. But also, I will, like I always do, I'll talk about the drawbacks, the cons to living in Shadowlawn. So if you do want to move here, you'll have a very balanced perspective on what's here so you can make a good decision. So first I want to show you where it is. If you look at Virginia Beach, so you zoom out, this is all the city right here, again, a big city, but zooming in, one of the most popular, or the most popular beach in Virginia Beach is the oceanfront along the eastern side of the Atlantic Ocean. There are a lot of houses around the oceanfront area, but a lot of them are condos or very small houses. But there's a neighborhood that gets often overlooked because of where it is in relation to the rest of the oceanfront. This is right here. This is Shadowlawn right here. And actually, it kind of bumps up just above Norfolk Avenue right here. This section right here, you could also argue is considered Shadowlawn, I think, to me. But for the most part, it's all this peninsula right here. And also, it's jetting out a bit here. These condo or attached townhouse areas are areas that people often consider Shadowlawn as well. So it's along the south part of this Norfolk Avenue corridor right here. So where are you in relation to the beach? Well, you can get to the beach in multiple ways. Well, number one is Norfolk Avenue is right here. That connects over across to Pacific Avenue, and you're right at 9th Street right there. So that's number one. Number two is you can go across over 5th Street through Winston-Salem Avenue. So there are multiple ways to get to the beach on the north side or the south side of Shadowlawn. And hugging this section here, you'll find a lot of places where there are marinas, charter fishing. That's all along Winston-Salem Avenue as well. So you can hit this road all the way and go towards the beach that way. And that's what you'll find a lot of times when you're looking for houses and neighborhoods in Virginia Beach that are near the beach. And the question is, well, what's considered near the beach? Well, some people want walk access. Well, again, walking distance is a loose term that could be really defined by anybody as a lot of different things. So then you say, okay, well, what about bike access? What about car access, but not too far? Well, these are all different proximities to the beach, but people, as you get closer to the ocean, are going to want that access, right? So the closer you get to the beach, the more things and more ways you can get to the beach quicker. And the speed is what you're paying for in a lot of these neighborhoods. So the further away you get from the ocean or the beach, but you also can technically maybe walk or bike to the ocean itself, that's where you can find that sweet spot where you're not paying a ton just to be super close, the closest, but you're also not paying to the point to where you have to get in your car every time you want to go to the beach, because parking is also a big issue along the beach as well. So if you have an ability at your house to get access to the beach without having to use your car, that's the money right there. So where do you find that balance? How much do you want to pay to get closest without having to pay too much? And that's why I like Shadowlawn. It has that balance of accessibility, close proximity, but also you're about paying the max premium to be that close to the oceanfront, when you can actually get the same things and not have to pay as much and still get a neighborhood feel too. Also, to get around, a lot of people also use golf carts through the neighborhood as well. So you do have bike access, walk access, and of course driving, but the golf cart dynamic is an added extra benefit too. So those reasons of why I like Shadowlawn a lot. And you'll find a theme here. Shadowlawn, just like any other real beach community, is very designed for beach. You definitely, when you go into the neighborhood, you feel like you're in a beach community. The people here, a lot of people love the beach here. That's why they're in Shadowlawn. They also like the way that it feels, because it's different than most other neighborhoods in Virginia Beach that are near the beach. So you can be in any of the streets that Shadowlawn encompasses, but then you can walk a couple blocks and you're right down the street from the marina. There's charter fishing boats, the docks over there. If you even live on the water, you've got potentially a dock or boat access off the water into what's called the Rudy Inlet also, which if you look on the map, Rudy Inlet is the body of water that's right just south of Shadowlawn, and that eventually connects over into the Atlantic Ocean itself. So if you do have a boat, if you live on the water on Rudy Inlet in Shadowlawn, you do have access there as well. So even though you're near the ocean front, you definitely have a lot of quiet water vibes and neighborhood vibes as you come into the neighborhood and along the water. So even if you drive over, there's a bridge right here, General Booth Boulevard has a bridge. It's called the Rudy Inlet Bridge right here. If you look over over to the left or right, depending on which direction you're driving, you'll see boats all along the inlet, and then you'll see the neighborhood right behind it. And so you can just see it. It feels very quiet, very relaxed. And so being that close to the beach, but having that type of feel is extremely rare. And for the prices that you can pay in Shadowlawn, you actually get a pretty good value. And I'll tell you why I think one of the reasons is that it's this cheap. Now, when I say cheap, I don't mean actually cheap, like $200,000. The price ranges in here definitely vary. Now, if you talk about attached houses, you can get attached condos or townhouses in here anywhere from like the upper 100s to $200,000, $300,000 or $400,000. You'll find some that go up from there, but you get like 1 or 2 bedroom houses, townhouses or condos, you can get them in the $200,000-$300,000 range. One of the drawbacks, though, is that with that price drop, you often find that the condo association fees are a lot higher. So you might find it's $400, $600 or more dollars a month for some of these condo association fees. So just don't necessarily just look at the price and say, well, it's cheap, it's great. Well, then there are some payments involved in that factor into why the prices are actually lower. And these condos all are along, mostly around Norfolk Avenue. So you can pop off, there's several neighborhoods right along the side of Norfolk Avenue. For example, Southwinds condos, you got Rudy Villas condos, you got California condos, there's Summers Point, there's Laguna Villas, which is a small little newer construction little attached neighborhood. Small, very small. Holly Square is another one. There's Sea Oats. There's Mediterranean villas. And then there's also Lake Station condos. So you got a bunch that align up and down Norfolk Avenue, and a few that are inside Shadowlawn, like closer to the water side of Shadowlawn as well. And these all range in prices from the upper 100s to 4, 5, and 6 and up for either those newer ones or larger ones. But the actual meat and potatoes of Shadowlawn, where the detached houses are, those start in the 4s and 5s. And I say 4s, you're talking about like a 700 square foot little 2-bedroom house, maybe in the 400s price range. Most of what you find in Shadowlawn starts in the 500s, goes into the 6s very quickly, and 6 to 8 is where you'll find a lot of houses in Shadowlawn. Now, let me say, well, that's not cheap. Well, to get access, even walking access to the beach, especially the oceanfront, it is not cheap. If you go into a place like Croatan, which is across the water down the south side, most of the houses around Croatan are starting at $900,000 to $1 million at this point. But if you go over north, you can get some maybe even a little bit cheaper towards Lakewood over here, or even Beachboro or Old Beach. But the problem there is that you often don't really get the same vibe, the same neighborhood feel, and you're also right in the middle of kind of more commercialized tourist areas. So this is why you're not necessarily getting the cheapest necessarily in some spots in Shadowlawn, but you're also not paying a ton, and you're getting a neighborhood, a great neighborhood feel, detached house in most cases, and also access to the beach that's very, very hard to get that close. Now the houses in here, the styles of houses in here, you'll find that they're varied too, because Shadowlawn is an old neighborhood. Some of these houses they were built in the 1920s. You'll find some in the 20s, some in the 30s, they go up from there. But most of them really didn't get built until the late 40s, 50s and on from there. A lot of them really got built in the 50s and 60s. But even then, in the 70s and in the 80s, you still saw houses being built in Shadowlawn. But then you notice as you got into the 90s and 2000s, there were just less options to build because the land was being built up. So you'll still see new construction or newer construction in the 2000s, 2010s, and even new construction in some very specific spots. But the land access, the ability to build is just at this point super scarce. So you don't find too many newer houses in here. You'll find a lot of the newer ones or the bigger houses like 2,500 square feet, 3,000 and up. These are going to be 900 and up easily. You'll see a lot of them in over $1 million. Those newer ones, those bigger ones. That's just kind of the going rate for a lot of these access points near the beach. But if you want something maybe be smaller, attached, you can get a newer one in the 6s and 7s, for example. So what about size of houses? You're going to get everything in here. Anything from like 700 square foot little 2-bedroom bungalow to 3,000 or 4,000 square feet, 5+ bedrooms in some cases on Shadowlawn. A lot of these are going to be anywhere from like the 1,800 square foot range to like the 2,700 square feet range, 3 or 4 bedrooms, but you do find a lot of variety. And a lot of varieties in floor plans too, because the construction was built all through the last 100 years. So there are different types of floor plans anywhere you look in Shadowlawn. Then as you got into the 70s and 80s, that's where you find more attached houses, and condos were starting to be built as well. So you'd find that type of build at construction or design. And as you go to the northern side of Shadowlawn near Norfolk Avenue, that's where you'll find a lot of those condos that were built. So in the 70s and 80s, and then you started seeing some in the 90s and 2000s in new construction, but there aren't as many attached new construction either. Again, it's just the scarcity of land. It's hard to find it now. So then it's a matter of, how small of a house would you be comfortable with to be near the beach and, still get everything you want. Maybe 700s, 800s. You can find those in that price range, and even still less than that, 6s and less. But as you get lower in price, it means you're giving up something, or at least one of multiple things. Usually it's going to be size, or maybe condition, or maybe accessibility that you may not be able to get as easily as opposed to if you've gotten closer to the beach. But usually size is a big thing. So if you want 4 or 5 bedrooms, you're going to be talking mostly in these 6s and up at least. But if you want like a 2 or 3 bedroom cottage, for example, you might find that 500s and maybe even into the 4s, if it's super small, could potentially work in a very unique situation. So you do have some variety with types of houses, styles, and also the ownership types as well. And so you definitely feel as you're driving in here that you get that beach feel. And you can't really find too many neighborhoods like this in other parts of Virginia Beach, just because the styles are unique, and also the closer proximity living is kind of unique here. But also, even though you're close proximity, again, you have the feel of a neighborhood, which I cannot stress that enough. It is hard to find that, and to find it for the price you're getting it is very, very rare. So what about things to do in this lifestyle around Shadowlawn? Well, number one is, of course, the beach. People will come here because they love access to the beach. But separate from that, of course, you have the marinas. You got potential boat access. You can park your boat relatively close. We're starting to see Atlantic Park being finished here pretty soon. 2025, it should be getting closer to being done. So with a big wave park, restaurants, and stuff to do. That's over near 18th Street, 19th Street, closer to Pacific Avenue. So you have, of course, a bunch of tourist stuff and access near the beach, but also the boardwalk, which you can walk from Shadowlawn over to the ocean front and get to the boardwalk, which is an over 3-mile boardwalk along the coast of Virginia Beach, which that's pretty uncommon too, to have that much oceanfront, but also that boardwalk is super nice. You can walk up and down, catch a nice meal at some restaurants along the ocean. One of which I like is Waterman's, which is on 5th Street. You can literally go across from Shadowlawn across to Waterman's right here. I love Waterman's. And then speaking of other restaurants too, going on the north side of Shadowlawn along Norfolk Avenue, I like Tad's Deli. Really good sandwich place that is often overlooked along Norfolk Avenue. Zeke's Beans and Bowls, another good place that has another location in Norfolk, which I like too. Then if you want some more restaurant access, you've got the Vibe District, which is just north of Shadowlawn as well. So going just past, which is Lakewood right here, Virginia Beach Boulevard, you've got restaurants up and down here. Prosperity Bakery, a real good bake shop that does sourdough bread. Good beer place, Aslan Beer Company, which is on Virginia Beach Boulevard too. You've got Lolly's Ice Cream, my favorite ice cream place in Virginia Beach, which is right here, also right over here. And so up and down, Commune, a good restaurant right there. You've got Hearth, another great one right there, good steak. So you got plenty of stuff going on Virginia Beach Boulevard, which is again right next to or in the Vibe District. So if you go from there up to 21st Street, you'll find more stuff. Good coffee place I like, which is 3 Ships Coffee, Beach Bully Barbecue, Java Surf over here. So a lot happening in the Vibe District, which is just north of the Shadowlawn neighborhood, which you can get there either by car. You could kind of do a long walk or bike ride there too. So you've got the local feel. You've got the access that doesn't require you to drive very far away. Other things to do, you got the Marine Science Center, which is over just south of Shadowlawn. And there's also a ropes course, a zip lining course next to the Marine Science Center. Then also Ocean Breeze, which is south of there. So multiple parks. You got Red Wing Park, you have Red Wing Golf Course, which is right next to here too. So along General Booth, you got a lot of nice park access. If you drive up and down General Booth, still a drive. It's not walkable at that point to me. And also another great thing is they're going to be continuing on the long bike path all the way from Norfolk Avenue all the way to Norfolk towards the edge of Norfolk and Virginia Beach right over here. So there's going to be a bike path going to be built over the next several years, and being close to this is pretty cool too. So Norfolk Avenue is where that bike path is, and it's going to be connected to. Now shopping. Okay, if I was living in Shadowlawn, where would I shop? Well, the easiest or closest proximity shopping experience is going to be, there are some mom and pop grocery stores, but there's a Food Line, which is right past, there's Norfolk Avenue right here. Here's Shadowlawn. Here's the Food Line right here. That's the closest one. To me, the best shopping, you got a Harris Teeter up here, which is relatively new, up near 28th Street, I think. Yeah, 28th Street. That's pretty new. I would go there myself. I like Harris Teeter. Or You got places like Hilltop, over up in the north side near Alaskan Road and through First Colonial. That's where most of the best shopping to me would be. It's going to be about 15 minutes to get there. And actually, one other general area to shop too is if you go south, so not towards Hilltop, not towards the Harris Teeter, you can go south on General Booth Boulevard. You'll eventually get some shopping centers like a Food Lion, and also a lot as you go down towards Strawbridge down and near around Red Mill. So that's about 15-ish minutes away. Nevertheless, there is no super close proximity shopping except for a couple of grocery stores and some mom and pops and the oceanfront stuff. Another positive about Shadowlawn is that you think close to the beach, what about flood insurance? A majority of Shadowlawn lies in an area that does not require flood insurance. And so that to me is also a big deal because you'd think that I need to get flood insurance if I live near the beach. Well, if you look, so AE, this is a map in October 2024. So definitely based on whenever you're looking, do some research and check with your real estate agent or whoever to determine if these maps have changed, because these can change at any point. Here you can see the purple is where you'll find places that require flood insurance. But then if you come in off the ocean, the orange and yellow, that usually does not require flood insurance. So a majority right now of Shadowlawn does not require flood insurance. That leads me also to some of the drawbacks, and especially talking about these types of things I mentioned, is the traffic around Shadowlawn. Not necessarily the actual neighborhood itself, because you're right in a nook that people don't usually go to unless they have to. But if you want to get out, especially during the summertime, evenings, during the summertime, there can be a lot of traffic and just activity happening around the central part of the oceanfront and coming in and out along 21st and 22nd Street. So that can be frustrating if you don't like that activity and that traffic. Number two is going to be the shopping access, like I mentioned. Food Lion is the closest, which is around the corner. But other than that, for grocery stores, there's not much close by. That would bother me. So you have to go to the Harris Teeter maybe, or you have to go to a Hilltop. We're talking like 12 to 15 minutes away at that point, other than some mom and pops in between there. Another thing too is once you leave Shadowlawn, it feels more like a tourist town. So when you think of Virginia Beach, a lot of times I've told people, hey, once you leave the actual beach of Virginia Beach, it does not feel like a touristy town or a beachy town. But where Shadowlawn is, you're right in there, with the beach. So once you leave Shadowlawn, you're in that touristy area for the most part. So you do have a little bit of that. You have a combination of neighborhood feel in there. Even in the touristy areas, it still feels like a neighborhood to a certain degree, or a local beach to a certain degree, but it has a lot of commercialized aspects as well. So that could kind of factor into what it feels like to live in Shadowlawn, especially getting in and out and just living around town. And of course, the price. If you are looking for beach access, it's going to be hard to get this too much cheaper than what Shadowlawn has. But regardless, people find that they don't want to pay this much to be close to the ocean. Totally get it. This is all about bang for buck here. And so you're going to have a drawback, though, would be the price itself. But the trade-off is the access to the beach. And another drawback is going to be you've got some jet noise to deal with. I'm going to show you the ACU's jet noise zone map. And so here's Oceana. I'm going to zoom this thing in. This is where the high noise zones are located. So if you look, zooming in, over just on the east, there's Shadowlawn right there. So it falls within zones that you can definitely expect to hear jet noise. Now, it may not be as bad as other parts of the area, but you'll definitely notice it. And so if you have not been here yet and you want to move to Shadowlawn, I definitely would at least just come to make sure that you can experience what it sounds like before you get here. People often love it, or often some people don't pay attention at all, but it's at least noticeable enough to, if you haven't been in an area that has jet noise before, you definitely want to at least find out if it's something you can get used to or not. My suggestion would be to come during the week. That's when you'll get the most chance of hearing a jet noise in the area, during the day, during the week. So if you have any other questions about relocating to Shadowlawn or other areas in Virginia Beach through Williamsburg, let me know. It's what I do. I love helping people relocate to the area. So if you have any questions, I have my contact information in the description. You can email me, call me, text me, and I'll do whatever I can to help you relocate to the area. And I will see you on the next video.